Star Wars games back in the 2000s were 10 a penny, with many different games releasing over the years. During that decade, we saw a lot of great Star Wars games, but one of them, that is one of my most favourites and most popular, was Star Wars The Force Unleashed. Released in September 2008, the game launched on every single console known to man. But it went down a treat with fans, offering a true Jedi Sith experience. But now, after all these years, we're finally seeing it getting a re-release for the Switch. So is the Force still strong with this one? Let's find out. The story of The Force Unleashed goes like this. It sees Darth Vader chasing after this Jedi in the game's prologue, and during this fight he finds out this Jedi has a son. So Vader takes the child and raises him as his secret apprentice. Many years have passed and the apprentice, aka Starkiller, is ready for proper missions, and so he helps out Vader with many tasks, but the thing is, the Emperor doesn't know a thing about it. During the game, the apprentice, aka Starkiller, dispatches many Jedis and along the way makes friends and has to decide whether this is the path he really wants to go down. One thing I liked about The Force Unleashed is that its story is actually really mature and has plenty of great range of characters, from Jedi Master Ram Kota to love interest Juno. There's plenty of character development in the game, and whilst it isn't a deeper story like Jedi Fallen Order, it still holds up, and you can understand why this game won many an awards for its story. Onto the gameplay now, and back in the day there was loads of different versions of this game, and they all played quite differently. You had the HD, PS3 and 360 versions that had different story beats and bigger levels. The Wii, the PS2 and PSP versions had stripped back level designs, featured a load of different levels, and slightly tweaked story. Each of these versions also did have a different bonus mode exclusive to them, and then there was the DS version which had an entirely different but fun gameplay loop entirely. There's also a lot of versions of this to play, but this Switch port is based entirely on the Wii version, which kind of makes sense due to the motion control aspects. Well, anyway, the levels themselves are fairly decent sized affairs that see you travelling a rather linear route to the big battle at the end. You go through the levels on different planets and environments from the Star Wars universe. There's slight exploration to be had in this version, but it's nowhere near as much as there is in the HD ones. A big reason of why this game is so enjoyable is the combat, and this marked one of the first times in a little while that you could play as a lightsaber wielding force user, and it was an utter power fantasy. You go through the levels slashing stormtroopers and various grunts aside with your lightsaber, and it's still a lot of fun to this day. Add in the fact you could use force powers such as the ability to pick up items and throw it, the force push. It's just so cool. And obviously the most fun you can have with a move is the electricity, which can see you decimate foes, and it's so incredible to use. Most levels essentially sees you going from planet to planet defeating a target, and that's about it. Level tasks don't really change much more from that. You do get some absolutely brilliant and thrilling fights against some cool Jedi and monsters. There's your usual mix of quick time events here and there as well, but battles still have bite and still provide an adrenaline rush. A big worry for many was the inclusion of motion controls. Back on the day in the Wii it was fun, but all swinging your arms about could cause an arm pain and it could be awkward after long sessions. So that's why the sequel on the Wii ditched motion controls for button movement only. But this Switch port brings back the motion controls, but thankfully they're optional. And actually the motion controls play very much like they did back in the day on the Wii and do play really enjoyable. They don't really feel tacked on, and they do have their moments, especially in boss fights. But if you want to stick to button controls, they're here, and thankfully both work quite well. So at least here you've got the best of both worlds, motion and button, which is great to see. As for the game's length, The Force Unleashed biggest fault is that it's just over way too soon. Taking a good 6 to 8 hours to complete the game, it certainly doesn't outstay its welcome and leaves you wanting more. Granted, the game has 2 endings, so you can go back and play it to get the other ending, and we also have various holocrons to collect and different artwork, costumes and different lightsabers to get, so that's quite cool. There's a little bit of replayability there, but unfortunately there's not a lot else. There is a multiplayer mode from the Wii version also included here, which is a nice inclusion. It features over 20 playable characters where you can fight in various arenas. It holds up pretty well and is fun to use, but unfortunately it's offline only, but if you've got a few mates around, it's well worth a go. presentation wise now, and we know this is based on the Wii version of The Force Unleashed, which obviously lacked a lot of visual flair and the effects of the PS3 and 360 versions. But the Wii edition did look nice even if it had technical limits. But on Switch, we see a nice boost to the frame rate and textures, and overall they've done a decent job here. The game is certainly looking its age with a few jagged edges and odd character models, but it's a decent port, and it's brilliant to see the game run at a rock solid 60 FPS. Onto the sound side of things now, and it's a Star Wars game, so you know from the sound is going to be exceptional, and it rings very much true here, with many iconic tracks from the films and a few new ones created just for the game. We have some top-notch sound effects, from the whoosh of the lightsaber to the pew 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 of the blasters. It's awesome. And finally, the voice acting is actually really strong here, with every character providing great performances all round, especially from Sam Witwer, who plays the apprentice. It's also worth noting that Sam also plays the leading character, Deacon St. John, in the brilliant PlayStation exclusive Days Gone, and he also voices Emperor Palpatine and Darth Maul in many Star Wars TV shows and game projects. Conclusion time now, and it's brilliant to see Star Wars The Force Unleashed back. And whilst it's a shame it isn't a remake, all features the HD version as well, but this port of the Wii version does get the job done well. The game still holds up as a fun Star Wars power fantasy and features a great story and memorable characters. The controls are solid, and the inclusion of battle mode does make up for the rather short experience. It may be a bit expensive for some, but for Star Wars fans it's a must. So with that, I'm giving Star Wars The Force Unleashed on the Switch a 7 out of 10 with the title of good. As always, thank you for watching my review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you could like and subscribe, that'd be totally awesome. And as always, thank you for watching. Bye!